The world outside was quiet as the last hues of orange and pink faded from the sky. Inside a small, warmly lit bedroom in suburban Oregon, Jessica Bennett sat on the edge of her bed. Her hands were clasped around a mug of chamomile tea, steam curling up gently as the scent of lavender drifted from a diffuser on the nightstand. Her golden retriever, Max, lay curled at the foot of the bed, already beginning to drift into sleep. It was the kind of night that seemed to hush the world into calm, a night that felt like a soft whisper before dreams arrived. Jessica had recently started a new nightly routine. After battling waves of anxiety for years, she realized that what she allowed into her mind before sleep often influenced how she woke up. For a long time, she would lie awake replaying conversations, doubting herself, or fearing the next day's challenges. But that had slowly changed after her therapist, Dr. Emily Rhodes, introduced her to the practice of nighttime affirmations. That evening, Jessica leaned back against her headboard, placing her mug on the nightstand. She turned off the bedside lamp, letting only the soft glow of the salt lamp remain. Her voice, calm and low, began the same way it had for the past few weeks. "I am safe. I am at peace." Her words didn't feel forced anymore. They had begun to settle into her subconscious like roots finding soft, nourishing soil. She took a deep breath and continued, "I did my best today. And my best is enough." This had once been the hardest statement for her. Jessica had always held herself to impossibly high standards. At 34, she worked as a graphic designer for a fast-paced firm in Portland, constantly chasing deadlines, client demands, and her own perfectionism. She often felt like she was sprinting through life, barely pausing to breathe. But saying these words, really letting them sink in, felt like wrapping herself in a blanket made of kindness. "I release all that no longer serves me." As she spoke, her mind flickered to the email she hadn't sent, the laundry she'd forgotten to fold, the phone call she had postponed to her mother. But instead of letting those things dominate her thoughts, she inhaled deeply and let them go with her exhale. Jessica's journey hadn't started with affirmations. A year ago, she had hit what felt like emotional rock bottom. Her long-term relationship had ended suddenly, leaving her with a hollow kind of silence that echoed through her apartment. She had stopped cooking, let her plants wither, and even took a leave of absence from work. Her closest friend, Rachel, had finally intervened. "You don't have to do everything at once," Rachel had said one night, sitting beside her on the couch with takeout containers between them. "Just start with one kind thing for yourself a day." The first kind thing Jessica chose was journaling. The second was taking walks. The third, which turned out to be the most transformative, was affirmations before bed. Now, months later, Jessica's voice continued softly in the dark. "I am worthy of love. I am open to joy." She didn't always believe every word. Some nights, her heart resisted the comfort these phrases offered. But repetition had become her ally. Even when she didn't feel joy, she invited the possibility of it. Even when worthiness felt distant, she spoke it into being. Down the hall, her younger brother Noah was visiting for the weekend. He had fallen asleep early on the living room couch while watching a documentary. Jessica smiled thinking of him. After their parents passed away, Noah had become her closest family. Despite being 6 years younger, his presence was always grounding. Max shifted at the foot of the bed, his paw twitching slightly in a dream. Jessica reached down, gently stroking his back. "I am grateful for this moment," she whispered. The room was silent except for the hum of the fan and the soft exhale of her dog's breathing. She stared up at the ceiling, her thoughts slowing, her muscles softening. Each word she spoke built a fortress of serenity around her, keeping the day's chaos at bay. "I am exactly where I need to be." Sometimes, affirmations reminded her that she didn't need all the answers right away. It was okay to be in the middle of healing. It was okay to be figuring it out. Life wasn't a puzzle she had to solve by morning. She remembered one particular evening when she had nearly given up on this whole process. It had been a rough day at work. A client had torn apart a design she'd worked on for a week. Her manager had passed her over for a project lead role, And to top it off, she'd gotten a parking ticket. She came home that night, frustrated and close to tears. As she sat on her bed, the affirmations felt hollow. "I am calm. I am in control," she had muttered angrily. "No, I'm not. Not tonight." That night, instead of pushing through, she allowed herself to cry. She sat with her pain, acknowledging it. And after the tears dried, she said just one affirmation. "I am learning to be gentle with myself." That had been enough. The next day she started again. The ceiling fan turned slowly above her now as her eyelids grew heavy. The affirmations weren't just words anymore. They were threads weaving a tapestry of self-love, one night at a time. As her breath slowed, she whispered the final words she always used to close her night. "Tomorrow is a new beginning. I welcome it with hope." Jessica drifted off with those words echoing softly in her mind, like a lullaby written just for her. Downstairs, Noah stirred on the couch. The documentary had ended, replaced by soft instrumental music playing on the TV's screensaver. He opened his eyes, disoriented for a moment, then reached for the knitted blanket Jessica had draped over him earlier. Pulling it up, he yawned and let his head rest back on the cushions. Though he didn't say them aloud, he, too, had begun to silently repeat the affirmations Jessica had shared with him earlier that day. "I am enough. Am strong. I am loved." He smiled faintly, letting the peace settle in. The next morning, sunlight streamed in through the curtains. Jessica woke slowly, stretching her arms toward the ceiling. She felt rested, clear-headed, and steady. Before her feet even touched the floor, she murmured, "Thank you for this new day." Affirmations had taught her that change didn't need to roar. Sometimes it came in whispers. In 5 quiet minutes before sleep, when the world paused and the soul listened. Throughout the day, Jessica moved with calm purpose. At work, she navigated feedback with composure. At lunch, she called her mother, laughed, and shared stories. That evening, she made a warm vegetable soup, shared it with Noah, and sat outside on the porch as the sky turned to fire again. Life still had its messiness, its curveballs, its unanswered questions, but she had built a gentle practice that helped her face it all with grace. And that night, 5 minutes before sleep once again, Jessica closed her eyes and said, "I am grateful. Am loved. I am whole." Then, just like that, she slipped into dreams wrapped in the softest kind of strength, the kind she had spoken into existence.